Good evening and welcome to a special live pregame discussion, Blue HQ. I'm Aaron, joined by Chris, Dalton, and new face with the show, Matt. Matt, why don't you get us started tonight?
What's up, man? Okay, so we're going to go ahead and start this off talking about the standings in the AFC South. And I tell you what, the AFC South's about as mediocre as my sex life right now. It's pretty bad. Right now, we've got two teams that at 6-6, the Tennessee Titans and the Houston Texans. We have beat the Tennessee Titans twice. We unfortunately have lost to the Texans already. And we got the Colts at 5-6, so they need this victory desperately to stay at a three-way tie for first place, which I don't know if being in first place in the AFC South means much other than you get a playoff spot. But, the team is struggling right now, but we need this win tonight for sure.
Well, Andrew Luck, who's returning from his injury of a concussion, is going to be back under center tonight, and he won't have much trouble hearing. There won't be much crowd noise for the Jets. Now, if you're a Jets fan, cover your ears. I'm sorry you have to hear this, but they're dangerously close to the point where they're going to have to start paying their fans to come to their games. Now, if you've been on to the ticket exchange, you're going to see that some of these tickets to the Jets games are going for $5. Now, you saw that right, $5. So basically, getting to the stadium itself is going to cost you more than to watch the game. So hopefully crowd noise isn't going to be much of a factor. I'm hoping to see a lot of blue in the stands. And even though it's not at home, getting a little bit of a home feeling. But definitely good to have Luck back. I think this is a good game for him to kind of get back into the swing of things. So looking for a big night from him.
Aaron, so what you're telling me is it's cheaper to go to a Jets game than what it is to go like McDonald's.
Yes, sir. I believe you can get 2 McChickens, a small fry, and a drink for cheaper or for about the same price as a Jets ticket. So
I had no doubt in my mind that you would know that.
Fill up on the way there, fellas. You don't want to go to the game on an empty stomach.
So if you're telling me for the price of one beer at the Colts Stadium, I can buy 2 tickets to see the Jets. That's fantastic.
Right, you are.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. So I can't even get a buzz, but I can take 2 people to the Jets. You would have to pay me to go to New York first off, because I'm not a big fan of New York. I'm sorry if any Jets fans on here. I don't care first and foremost, but when you guys come to Indy, you're kind of pricks to be completely honest with you. I've had many problems with Jets fans, and I've been very vocal about the Jets fans being my least favorite visitors to Lucas Oil Stadium. When we played them in 2009, one jackass was going up and down the stands, flipping the crowd off just because, I don't know, maybe he was a little liquored up or feeling like an idiot, but he got punched. That was cool to watch. And, just talking smack, and we were beating their butt the whole damn game. I'm like, what are you guys doing? Like, are you just, do you get a trophy for being a jackass today or what? But I do not care for Jets fans at all. And would have no desire going to see the Jets play in their stadium. It could be the Lingerie Bowl. I'm probably going to sit it out.
Matt, I got a question for you, buddy. I'm sure you, as all of those wonderful Jets fans you were describing to me, have gotten real comfy with the nickname Revis Island. Now, T.Y. Hilton taking a trip to Revis Island tonight. Why don't you get us started with talking about that matchup?
Oh, man, I'm telling you what. So Revis, we all know Revis is not the cornerback he used to be. It used to be Revis Island. It's more like Revis Continent now because you can pretty much do whatever you want. You can do some sightseeing there. You can go get a hot dog, do whatever you want. He's not going to cover you. He couldn't cover my fat ass today. So my prediction is T.Y. Hilton going to have a field day today, and that's great because I also need Andrew Luck to put up some fantasy points for me tonight. So Luck, don't be shy with that ball. Depending on the weather, we may see a lot of Frank Gore tonight, but I do think that T.Y. Hilton is going to go to Revis Island and probably burn that island to the ground. And I can't wait. I'll play in the ashes when we get the victory.
Yeah, I mean, getting the pass game working early and often, I think games that T.Y. has gotten over 100 yards are the games that the Colts win, and are able to really get things going. It opens up, things for the other receivers as well. Now, Revis against younger receivers allows about 75% of a completion rate, against increasing targets. It seems quarterbacks are no longer as afraid to travel to Revis Island. Not had a pick, not had any sort of fumble forced this season, to this point in the season. And you look at, Hilton averaging 85.5 yards a game. He's fifth in the NFL for his yards per game, and right around seventh in the NFL for total yards, 942. I think if the offensive line holds up in this one, it's not going to be very fun for that Jets secondary.
Well, guys, this just last week, probably the only thing that the Jets secondary has going for them, Calvin Pryor took a knee to the helmet against the Patriots and is sitting this game out. So that secondary had Revis. He's now a non-factor with being old. And Calvin Pryor, the one right spot in that New York secondary, is out today as well. So what does that mean as far as the safety being out and putting in a young gun? I think that means more deep passes. I think it means more 25-yard post routes, which is what Moncrief has become really good at. While I agree that it will probably be the Hilton-Revis matchup that everyone's looking at, I'm also looking at the guys who are going to go deep. I'm looking at Moncrief on those 20-yard plays. I'm watching for Phil Dorsett, going against a nickel corner that might not be used to his position right now. So I think, I agree those wide receivers are going to have a great day. And even look for the bigger guys like Jack Doyle or Dwayne Allen just streaming down the middle of the field. Hey, if they got someone who can't cover them at safety, then they're due for big games as well.
Yeah, I agree with Dwayne Allen. Like he even said this week that, one, he's not been getting the opportunities, but even the opportunities he's gotten, he's not taking advantage of them. So knowing Dwayne Allen, having met him personally several times, he's a stand-up guy, and I think he's motivated to kind of take the next step because he's been disappointing this season. So I would like to see Dwayne Allen step up and have a big game this week.
Yeah, I think a big game's going to be vital for all of the receiving core as well as Gore as well. The Colts right now are tied with Kansas City and Detroit for most drops at 21. It's a number that you don't want to see continue to rise, but it seems like in each and every game you see it, at least anywhere from 2 to 3 drops, and receivers just not watching the ball in. They're not playing fundamental football. So I think it all starts with the fundamentals tonight. Obviously on offense, watch the ball in. Offensive line really playing some good ball, avoiding those killer holding penalties we've seen in recent weeks. Give Andrew Luck time. As far as Andrew Luck goes, I mean, we've got to avoid the interceptions because we almost gave the game away against Tennessee with a late pick, and I think that's something that we've got to avoid here. This is definitely a game that if the Colts come out and are swinging early, it has the potential to be a blowout. You don't want to just say it is because you never know. But if these guys are, if the cogs are moving and everything's working, this could get ugly. The Colts have the receivers to make this a really long day for the Jets defense.
Oh, I agree. And on that note, you just never know what Colts team you're going to get. Are you going to get the Colts team that comes out firing? From the first play of the game, are we going to throw it deep? Or are we going to get the Colts team that runs it on 2nd and 10? You just never know what you're going to get with the team. I think it's a very undisciplined team. It's just a disappointing season altogether. Huge Colts fan, I always have been, but I've been very vocal this season about my distaste for the coaching of this team. This team constantly acts like they're unprepared, not ready to hit the field. They think they're scrimmaging against each other. I don't know what it is, but I hope they come out motivated tonight, and I would like to see Andrew Luck wing it around the field tonight.
Guys, here's the question. If they lose tonight, is it time to look to 2017? Because Because I don't see – if they lose tonight, I don't see them coming back and making the playoffs.
Well, that's the beauty of being in such a mediocre division. You know what I'm saying? Like, everyone thought that the game against Pittsburgh, if we lost that one, then that was kind of one of our last hopes. But then Houston turns around and blows their matchup. And it's something where it's sad to say, but you can recall the Panthers, not their dominant year, but the year before, I believe it was, and they were division leaders and had – I can't even remember the record. If someone knows it, shout it out. But
8-7-1, they had the tie that season.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think losing this game isn't necessarily putting the hammer down on our season because of how Houston's playing right now. But I think this is a game that we really want to win, and I think it needs to be a statement game.
Absolutely.
Here's the thing that everybody says, but I don't think they realize. You hear over and over and over again that we're in a mediocre division, we can still win it. At what point do we step back and realize, okay, we're in a mediocre division, but we're mediocre also? We're not the 2008 Colts, 2007, 2006. We're not that team. At what point is it enough is enough? Either you want to win a championship or you don't. To me as a fan, fighting for a playoff spot every year and barely getting in only to lose, what's the point? It's time to step up. It's time to go on the road.
Well, I know Houston, last year getting into the playoffs and getting absolutely embarrassed by Kansas City. I hope that it's not going to be sort of a follow suit. I still think one of the most questionable things this organization has done was Irsay signing Pagano and Grigson back to 4-year extensions. It was completely mind-boggling. I don't think anyone saw it coming. I've always thought that Pagano was the type of guy that the players like, that the players are going to fight for. But at some point, you need a coach that's disciplined, is gonna hammer the fundamental football into you. I mean, Bill Belichick, as much as I can't stand the man, the guy runs a winning program. The team is not all lovey-dovey at Bill Belichick. They're not like, he's such a great guy. He's so warm and cuddly. I could go to him for anything to talk to. But he gets respect out of his guys. Yeah. And with respect comes, domination. 3-1 with their franchise quarterback out with a suspension, 1-0 with a third-string quarterback. So he runs a winning program, and I'm not saying go out and get a Belichick, but go out and get a Belichick.
Yeah, I mean, I think the problem with it, and the reason we kept Pagano over anybody last year, because who was available last year? Ideally, I would like to see Chucky, John Gruden come, or maybe even Jim Harbaugh come to coach the Colts. Those would be two hard-nosed guys. I feel like we, for the last 15 years now, since Dungy came in 2002, we've had very soft-spoken guys, and the only one that's really panned out was Dungy, unfortunately. And I think even though Dungy was soft-spoken, he still got respect out of his players just because of what he stood for, and we haven't gotten that since. So I think Irsay needs to kind of get away from these soft-spoken players, coaches, and go after a guy who's going to hold these players accountable and stop treating them like kids and hold them accountable as grown men that are getting paid millions of dollars to play football. It amazes me, other than Andrew Luck, our top guys like T.Y. Hilton, Vontae Davis, Dwayne Allen, and they take plays off, it seems like, and it's so frustrating. Even Andrew Luck at times, even though Andrew Luck is completely cut down on his mistakes this year, even at times he looks like completely mediocre, and we all know what his potential is. We've seen it before, but it's like, why can't these guys string this shit together consistently and be a winning team? There's 3 games this year that we should have won, including Jacksonville. We should have won that Houston game. We should have won the Lions game. You win those games like you're supposed to, we're right in the hunt. We could be in the hunt for one of the top 2 seeds. But no, here we are talking about, are we going to make the playoffs or not? So it's like, what's the deal? At some point, you got to point towards coaching, and I've pointed towards coaching this whole time. I was very disappointed that Pagano left, or Pagano might have left last year, and unfortunately he stayed. So I'm hoping that this year I'm kind of torn. Yes, as a fan, I want us to make the playoffs, but 2, I almost want us to not make the playoffs so we can clean house as a coaching staff and get a better draft pick. Just my opinion.
Real quick, watch the name Josh McDaniels. Chris, did you have something that you wanted to get started here?
Yeah, let's get back into the game real quick, guys, for tonight's game. We talked a lot about passing and how the Colts need to focus on the Jets' dreadful pass defense. But in order to do that, you need to establish the run too, and that's extremely important for the Colts tonight, especially because Frank Gore has 30 yards on the ground to go for passing Tony Dorsett for 8 all-time rushing. And that's a big possibility tonight. I've been looking at the weather report. It looks like there will be off and on showers all this evening. And as you guys know, when the weather is bad, you want your guys running the ball. And you want to establish that run game early and often. So I expect the Colts to get Frank Gore going early. I'd expect that record to be broken by halftime. We'll see whether they actually continue with it in the second half. Odds are no, considering the Colts are a second-half passing team. But definitely something to look forward to tonight as Gore approaches Tony Dorsett.
Now, I got to ask you, Dalton, at least for those people out there that play fantasy, do you start the Colts defense against the Jets? I guess that's how I want to bring you into this next conversation, analyzing the defense. What do you have to say about that?
Here's the thing, man. With the weather the way that it's going to be, they're going to have to try to run the ball because the Jets' passing attack is non-existent. Kind of like what Matt said earlier, his sex life. It's not there. So, I mean, I say yes. You know, Ryan Fitzpatrick is an absolute mess. If you think back to a couple years ago when the guy was with the Bills, they called him, what was it, the Amish Rifle?
The Amish Rifle.
And, I mean, he's not good, man. He's overhyped. They have 2 quarterbacks on the roster. The rookie, I can't even think of his name, has never even dressed for a game. Bryce Petty, you know, they started him or they played him. They weren't impressed. I mean, I feel like Pat McAfee would be a better quarterback at this point after what we saw than one of these guys on this roster. They can't run the ball every play. I say start the Colts defense. I think that they're going to get some takeaways, and I think we're going to win this game.
Yeah, I mean, the Jets have really been turnover this year, you know. Looking back at the game that Fitzpatrick threw, was it 5 or 6 picks? And I think this is a game with the way the weather is going to be. You know, I think, you know, the Colts definitely have to come out and make it like priority to win that turnover differential. They really need to, you know, really be positive on that front. You know, it's not often that the Colts are better than somebody else when it comes to turnovers, but Colts sitting right now at 23rd in the NFL with a -5 differential. The negative isn't great, but you look at the Jets, and they're sitting at a -14, currently 31st in the league. I mean, god awful. I mean, you know, that game alone where Fitzpatrick threw 6 interceptions, I mean, it sinks you. And I don't think you're going to see Fitzpatrick come out and throw 6 picks. But I don't want to see, you know, much like we did with Nick Foles against Kansas City, I don't want us to make this guy look like Joe Montana. But he's not. I think we need to expose him. I think we need to expose, you know, Fitzpatrick. I think we need to get on these receivers and hit him at the line and get them off their game. You know, they got Forte. I just, you know, I think it's completely possible for us to shut this team down. But it's going to be the defense that needs to step up for 60 straight minutes and just keep on, you know, keep it on, you know what I'm saying? And really, you know, make a statement against this offense. I mean, it's completely possible. So, I mean, with the weather the way it is, you're going to see a lot of running. And the run is something that the Colts haven't often excelled against. But I think, you know, it's completely possible for us to shut this team down.
Guys, real quick, one thing that I forgot to mention. Eric Decker is also out tonight for the Jets. So, I mean, it's a running game and Brandon Marshall. And Brandon Marshall is in the same boat as Revis. You know, the guy can still play every once in a while, but he's starting to get up there in age. So we'll see. Look for it to be not a high-scoring game from the Jets.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you know, there's definitely, you know, injury to this Jets team. You see, Eric Decker's not going to be suiting up. You know, I think, you know, they've got, as far as offense goes, they've got Quincy Enunwa, who's emerging as a, you know, a good young star, but, you know, I think at this point, Brandon Marshall is who you really need to look out for. Now, as far as the injury report goes, Clayton Gathers will be out this evening, re-aggravated a neck injury. Robert Mathis, dealing with a bicep injury, will not be in. Patrick Robinson, someone who struggled with injury all season, out with a groin injury. Questionable for the game. You've got Denzel Good, T.Y. Hilton, though T.Y. Hilton, apparently the indication right now is that he will suit up. Hassan Ridgeway, also questionable. So obviously T.Y. would be a big name, but it's looking like he's going to play. And I think that's going to be vital to getting this passing game going early and often. As far as the offensive line goes, it looks like it's going to be as healthy as it's been in a little while. Not sure about Denzel, though, you know, hopefully he'll suit up. But, you know, this is as good a time as any to come out and really show people, like, this is what the Colts offense is, regardless of coaching, regardless of whatever everyone else wants to think. This is the unit that we saw when Andrew Luck came into the NFL a couple of years after. I mean, you know, you even saw flashes of it when Andrew Luck was injured with his kidney injury with Matt Hasselbeck. And I think, you know, like I said, this needs to be a statement game. So all injuries aside, you've got a pretty healthy offense, semi-healthy defense. So, you know, I'm just looking forward to seeing this Colts team roll and kind of defy that record and defy what we kind of think of them right now.
Guys,
I agree.
I say that it is pivotal right now that the Colts do not underestimate Jets. And now I said a little bit of stuff before we went live about how I don't like the matchup. Yes, I think the Colts win, but here's the thing. The Colts defense has a tendency to make bad offenses look good. And so when you have bad offenses that feature a running back like Matt Forte, who is great at catching out of the flat, the Colts could be, I think, the worst in the NFL at catching running backs, catching balls out of the flat. You have Brandon Marshall, a guy that's established and a great receiver. And Quincy Enunwa, who is one of my favorite up-and-coming players in the league right now. Yeah, I agree. Their offensive line is terrible. And I think that Ryan Fitzpatrick's had a really bad year. But I almost consider Ryan Fitzpatrick like a division rival quarterback. I mean, he's had time in Houston. He's had time in Tennessee. And while the Colts tend to always beat Ryan Fitzpatrick, he always tends to go for about 250 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. So I don't know if saying because the Jets have been bad this year, I think the Jets love this matchup on offense. I disagree with you, Dalton. I think the Jets are going to put up 20 points. I just think it's important that the Colts put up 30.
Story earlier in the week, just wanting to get this out there. Trent Cole, who hasn't played since week 3, during practice, it was said that, you know, Chuck Pagano was wanting to kind of calm him down a little bit, you know, kind of reel him in. But as far as Trent Cole's concerned, he's good to go for tonight. Whether or not we'll see him, probably going to be, you know, majorly up to the coaches. Could be his first game back, and it could be key having him back. He's not been of huge production since bringing him into Indy, but with Robert Mathis out, you know, having a filler guy in there, because as far as the defense goes, as far as pass rush, the Colts are going to be relying heavily on Eric Walden to get in there and make some noise, which is possible. You know, this Jets offensive line, while it's, you know, decent, it's not fantastic. Left tackle for the Jets, Ijalana, or however you pronounce it, Ben Ijalana, former Colt. So that kind of gives you an idea of what they're rolling with. Chris, like you had said, the Colts have been kind of susceptible to running backs who can catch and run. And I think tonight it's going to be, huge. And I'm saying huge that we really put priority on making sure that Forte is at bay. Because with this weather, I think you're going to see a lot of right up the middle runs. They're going to try to get the outside, and they're going to try to get some short passes off to, Forte and, Marshall. So I think containing the edge, really bringing the game inside is going to be, it's going to be pivotal ultimately.
Guys, real quick, just kind of to bring a little fun to the game tonight. I think everybody should give a bold prediction for the game. You want to start with that, Aaron?
All right. Well, I am a very biased, very radical Colts fan. Have been since I knew what the game of football was. I lived in a house full of crazy Colts fans. If you can all recall, it was 2005 when the Colts almost made it to the Super Bowl against Pittsburgh, and Vinderjat missed that kick. I think I heard my dad say every word in the book, and that, it made me as passionate as I am. So that being said, Chris, I agree with what you said. This is a matchup that has the potential to be a shootout. But then again, with the conditions, it's got the potential to be, a defensive, sort of rumble. I like the Colts offense so long as T.Y. stays healthy. I think this is a unit that can easily put up 28 points. I think realistically, you're looking at a game where I think the Colts put up 24, Jets put up 17. I'm taking 24-17 Colts.
Yeah, I might say my bold prediction is probably going to be I think Andrew Luck is going to have a field day today. I'm going Andrew Luck over 400 yards passing. I know we're probably going to set up the pass with the run because it is going to be nasty conditions, but I just have a weird feeling that Andrew Luck is coming back with a vengeance today, and he's going to set that field on fire.
My bold prediction for this matchup is going to be Andrew Luck takes 5 sacks, but still wins the game by 10. And that's because the Jets have a good defensive line, guys. You have Mo Wilkerson heading up the middle. They've always had great pass rushers. And I think that our offensive line is not going to do anything to stop them. But I think it's going to come down to Andrew Luck. Does he get the ball out of his hands within 2 seconds? Is he able to find the open receivers for the 6-7 yard dunks versus is he going to hold it for too long? I think if he holds it for more than 3 seconds, he's going to take a sack. Bold prediction. 6 sacks, still win by 10.
All right, guys. First of all, Chris, Matt, thanks for your predictions. Aaron, thanks for your dating profile. My bold prediction, Colts force 3 turnovers. Frank Gore runs for 120 yards.
Whoa.
Woo! So you're saying 100 again.
Yeah, but Frank the Tank, baby.
I'm telling you, the potential is there for Gore to run for 120, rush for a touchdown, catch a touchdown. I think it's possible. So, keep your eyes open for, Frank to go out there and just light it up, man. Talk about Andrew setting the field on fire. I'm hoping Gore sets the field on fire and shows us just what he was like back in his prime.
Yes, sir. Love it.
120 yards. You heard it here first. All right, guys. Well, just want to finish up with a couple things here tonight. For any of you watching, Aaron will actually be live tweeting the game over on our Twitter. It's at BlueHQ Media. We have a couple articles that went up today, one involving Trent Cole, one involving the Colts and dropping passes. So check that out at bluehqmedia.com. Want to give a shout out to our sponsor, farmersmarket.com. They're great to support us and help us out. And as always, go Colts, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah, buddy. Let's make it happen.